Hello, today I'm going to start an Instagram chooses what I read for a week reading vlog, which I'm really excited about. I grabbed 6 books and they're in pairings with similar themes or kind of topics, and then I'm going to put a poll on my Instagram when I'm ready to read the next book. I wanted to show you guys all the selections first, and then today I'm going to post my first poll so that tomorrow I can start reading the first book of the challenge. I think I'm in a bit of a reading slump just because I read all of Abby Jimenez, I read her Part of Your World trilogy last month, and I love them so much that nothing else is remotely close. So I don't have any romances in here, but I have pretty much every other genre. So I'm really excited to expand my reading a bit this month. I think the first grouping I'm going to start with is this kind of like horror sci-fi group. First, I have Jaws by Peter Benchley. This is basically a classic. I'm really excited. I really want to read this before summer is over because I do think it's kind of a perfect summery, beachy horror type book. Even reading like the first page, it is really well written, and it's also a shorter book, which is really exciting. It's only 300 pages. So even though I do think this is going to be a bit more of a dense book and most likely very creepy, I don't think it's going to take me quite a long time. The next book in this grouping is going to be The Swimmers by Marianne Womack. I really don't know anything about this book. It is a sci-fi, and I do want to say that all of the ocean life is larger than it should be, so whether it is scientifically motivated or like a dystopian book, but this looks really good. The cover grabbed me, and I really would love to read this, and I haven't seen anyone talk about it. So I'm going to put these two against each other, and we will see who wins. The next pairing I'm really excited for. I really want to read both of these books so bad. It's basically my like cozy fantasy grouping. So first we have Keeper of Enchanted Rooms by Charlie Ann Holmberg. This just looks so cute. I have seen a few people haul this, but I haven't seen anyone review it, so I am really excited to read it and see what I think. The next one, honestly, sacrilegious, I haven't read yet because I love this author, this book. Like, the plot sounds so good, the premise sounds so good. One of my best book friends has read this, and I do know it has mixed reviews, but she loved it and she thinks I'm gonna love it as well. But that is In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. I think this is going to be really good, and I think this is a really good pairing because I don't think too many people talk about either of these. I will say I do think TJ Klune is more recognizable, but because this is like a hit or miss book, I really think this could go either way. So I'm really excited to see who wins, and I want to read both of them, so I think I'd be happy either way. The next book, I just grabbed 2 more random thrillers. I do believe both of these I got at Barnes & Noble when they do like the $5 books at the cafe, so I don't really know anything about them. I don't think I've seen anyone like read or review them. I don't think they're going to be anything life-changing. That is No One Needs to Know by Lindsay Cameron, and then When No One Is Watching by Lisa Cole. Again, I don't really know much, but honestly they give me kind of the same vibe, like apartment building looking, and they are both really short. I do think they're going to be really quick, easy reads. These are all the books up for grabs this week. We will be reading 3 books in this vlog, and I'm really hoping to get to all of them within the week. So I'm really excited. I am a mood reader, so we'll see how this pans out. But I have selected these books. I am really excited about all of them, so I think we'll do good. I think I will be excited whichever ones get chosen. So I will come back to you tomorrow and let you know which book wins and which book I start with. Hello, so it is Wednesday. It is the first official day of this reading vlog. I put up this poll yesterday and I gave it, I think, about 12 hours. I actually didn't get too many votes on it, but the winner was Jaws, which I was really excited about. I have started reading it today. Currently, I am on page 84, so I'm about to be on chapter 6, and I'm really liking it so far. I really love the movies, and I have seen the movies, especially the first one, a lot of times. So it's been really fun to like read the book and be able to visualize some of the scenes, but there is also obviously a lot that is in the book that we don't see in as much depth in the movies, which I'm really excited to get more into. I think I have like an anniversary edition of sorts. So there's a little author's note at the beginning, and he basically mentions how there's like, in the book, there's like mafia and romance elements, and he's like, if this doesn't sound familiar, like keep reading. So those are elements that obviously aren't in the movie. In the movie is very like cut and dry, like shark attack and all of that stuff. So so far we're getting hints into these other like subplots, and we haven't gotten like really any answers, but I do have some theories, and I'm really excited to keep reading and like see these other elements come into play that I'm not familiar with and aren't in the movies. The writing is really easy to read. It's definitely a little bit more dense than, some of the other books I read regularly. I'm planning to sit down for a few more hours and read more of this. Hopefully I can get at least halfway, but honestly maybe even a little more. Again, the book is only like 300 pages, so I do think I'll be able to finish this tomorrow, which is really exciting. And yeah, I'm liking it all around. So I will probably come back to you tomorrow and give you more updates, and then probably also put up the poll for the next book tomorrow as well. So I will see you soon. Hi guys, I have some explaining to do. It is currently Wednesday, exactly a week since I started this challenge, and I am going to be picking it back up. Basically, last weekend ended up being way busier than I thought it was going to be, just in terms of everything, like work, home life, friend life, all of that type of stuff. So I didn't really read all weekend. So I started this vlog on Wednesday, and then on Thursday, I don't remember if I gave an update, but I did read more of Jaws on Thursday. So we're going to count those like first 2 days as the first 2 days of this like week-long challenge. Today, again, is Wednesday, so we're going to be picking it back up. So this is day 3. I have made some really good progress today. I've read almost 100 pages today, and I do think I'm going to be able to finish it tonight. I have maybe like 50 pages left, and then once I finish it, I want to come back and give you kind of my full thoughts. I am still really liking it. I will say like the first little chunk that I had read in the first update I gave you guys was definitely the most exciting portion of the book this far. Since then, we focus more on like the chief of police and kind of the happenings around town, and because of these shark attacks, obviously, like if you haven't seen the movie, basically the chief of police doesn't want to keep the beaches open because the shark keeps coming back and keeps terrorizing and keeps killing. But then the mayor and like everyone else in the town wants the beaches to reopen because they are like a summer tourist spot basically, so they're not going to get business if the beaches aren't open. So they get pressured to reopen the beaches. So like the primary chunk of like the middle of this book was kind of like discussions about that, and then kind of our other subplots that I mentioned in my like initial update, because there's like kind of romance elements and like mafia elements. So we've also learned more about those, which I will go into more detail in my like final wrap up. But they are now kind of at like the final stretch of like trying to find the shark, and basically they like rented this fishing boat from like an old school fisherman type of guy. So they're on the boat with him now, the chief of police, and then this like shark biologist that they've hired. So they're now on the boat, and they just had their first sighting with the shark. So it's definitely picking up. Like I assume, I mean, I've watched the movie, so I kind of know what happens, but like I presume the last like little chunk is going to be more action packed and more kind of like on paper entertaining. But I have been enjoying this book overall. Hopefully I will finish this tonight. I'm going to post my second poll tonight on my Instagram. So then at whichever point tomorrow we start reading our next book, I'll have my answer. So I will see you guys soon. Hello, it is about a week later, and I came back to end this video. I did not succeed in reading the 3 books in a week, but I did want to go over the 2 books I did read and kind of explain what happened. So we started with the like horror, sci-fi, and like ocean theme, and that was between The Swimmers and then Jaws. Instagram did vote for Jaws, so I read this, and I'm really glad I read it when I did. It was really nice to read it during the summertime, and I was in the mood for more of a spooky book, and I feel like this was perfect. My final thoughts on this book, I think I might do a 3 stars. It is hard because I feel like this is such a recognizable piece of work and I really love the movies. The second book sounds really good because I believe is written by a different author and is written a bit more scary. And I think it was written semi in tandem with the second movie. I really did love all the shark bits of this book. Like the first half, or like the first chunk and the last chunk were both really good. The middle kind of lost me. It was a little bit slow. This was written a while ago and I feel like you could tell. I feel like you could tell by some of like the themes and comments that they were making. So some of the stuff is definitely outdated. So I do want to preface it with that. How I was mentioning in the preface, they kind of talked about how there's other elements of the book that the movie doesn't really follow, and the movie is way more like point A to point B about the shark attack, where in the book there's like kind of a romance and like mafia subplot. Those definitely came to fruition and I didn't not like reading about them, but it just wasn't my favorite. I think again part of because of like the way it was brought about and because of the times, like that was a factor, but also it wasn't as scary, right? Like we didn't get a lot of the shark at all in the middle chunk. We kind of got more of the politics of the town and like opening and closing the beaches, which you do get in the movie too, but it's elaborated more in the book. And I feel like the book was written at a slow pace in a good way, because when the shark attacks were happening and when we were really in the story, we like got a lot of details. I was able to visualize everything really good. But yeah, the middle part wasn't my favorite. So I think that's why the lower rating. I am really glad I read this. I think this was like the perfect time of year, obviously, to read this. So I would recommend, just not my favorite. And the next chunk, which I don't think I filmed any updates or really any like follow-up to the second set, but I did do the thrillers. My thought process was, because I think I read this in like the first 3 days of the challenge, even though I didn't even finish Jaws in like a consecutive time, but like I explained, I like just didn't read for a few days, so I decided to try and pick this challenge back up. But this took the first few days, so my thought was that I would pick up the thriller and hopefully read that in like a day or like a day and a half. And so that was between No One Needs to Know and When No One Is Watching, and they actually ended up tying. I did go with When No One Is Watching because one of my closer book friends who voted, like she voted for this one, so I figured I'd take her recommendation as like the tiebreaker. So this book says Rear Window meets Get Out, which I haven't read either, but I feel like I've seen multiple things be kind of related to Get Out, so I feel like I have some sort of understanding of kind of the vibe and the like tension of Get Out. This book follows our main character, Sydney. She lives in Brooklyn and she has always lived in this neighborhood. She grew up here with her mom and it's a predominantly Black neighborhood. So a big portion of the book is talking about gentrification, and there is a thriller element because basically gentrification is happening in this neighborhood. So we have a lot of like white families moving in and people like all like the storefronts and, you know, areas that have been there for so long are now getting revamped. Sydney's kind of dealing with this, and all of her neighbors that she's known forever, like a lot of them are moving out, a lot of them are getting bought out, and it's kind of this whole path that you're following, which is historically what happens. It is a thriller because you do like some things are like a little weirder than they should be. You can tell that something is coming. At the end, there's like a big combust in like the thriller elements and kind of not horror, but like kind of the more creepy elements come into play. So the last, I would say like 60 pages was a really, really fast read, and I did like it. I just feel like the majority of the book wasn't really thrillery at all. And like there was 2 moments where I feel like it hinted to the thriller aspect. And I kind of thought it was one thing, not like in terms of what the twist reveal was, but I did kind of think it was one thing. And I was like, this would be cool. It would make sense why we're going at a slower pace, going like at a more eerie pace. But then it ended up being something different, which again, I think there's a lot of truth in this novel, which is why it's hard to kind of rate it lower or like talk down about it, because I think there is a lot of truth. And I think really what this book does is like emphasize what already happens and just make it, you know, into a grander scale. And again, it's hard because I think that's probably part of it, right? Is that it is so realistic, and that's what's creepy. And I like a lot of those psychological kind of thrillers. So I just wish the thriller aspect maintained through the first part of the story more. Like I wish those creepy elements were brought in, or I wish we had more questions from the beginning and that these people were leaving with no trace, but maybe left like one thing behind, so then it made them wonder, things like that. So I think I'm gonna fall on probably like a 2.5, a 3. was a slower read for me. Read this one, and then that's it. Because I finished this on day 6, and so I definitely had time, I think, to read a little bit more on day 6 and on day 7, but I know I worked on technically like the 7th day of this challenge, and I wouldn't be able to finish the next book in that time. The last category was probably the category I was most excited about, which is really unfortunate, but that was like the fantasy, like cozy fantasy. So In the Lives of Puppets and Keeper of Enchanted Rooms. I didn't read either of these. I didn't post my poll or anything, so I don't even know what would have won. These are really high on my TBR anyway, so I'm really hoping I can get to these soon and then hopefully share my thoughts with you guys as well. But yes, that is where the video ends. So I did read 2 books in this week. If that like previous weekend hadn't been so crazy, I do think like I would have easily been able to read these 2 in like a consecutive 7 days. So I do think this is a success. And then I just wasn't able to get to these 2. I've been reading a little bit in other forms like audiobook and Kindle. Just, I don't know what physical book to pick up next. But anyway, I just wanted to come and end the video and share my thoughts. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for participating in my first challenge video. It was really fun. I did like the idea of it, and I liked, you know, you guys picking or just like not knowing exactly what I was gonna read. And I feel like this challenge is really good with combining mood reading with a challenge video. So I definitely have a lot more that I would like to do, but for now, that is all. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.